So for this video, it's going to be a open-ended kind of video because I do not have all the answers to this, but I do find it really fascinating. Now, for those, first and foremost, for those who've been watching my videos and do not like what I be saying, I don't know why you be clicking on this face. So I'm definitely going to be saying some stuff here that y'all not going to like. So I suggest you click off this video. Now, do what you want to do. But for me, when I come across somebody that I don't really like, I don't like what they be saying, I don't be clicking on their videos. That's just me. But do what you want to do. But I did warn you, you ain't gonna like this video. Like I said, this is going to be a open-ended video because I do not have all the answers to this, but I do find it fascinating. Now, within the Black community, I cannot speak for everyone, but for myself, growing up, I was told so many different things of where we originated from. Now, for the most important part, within my family, I was always told that we're mixed and we're Native American, and that Black side is the Native American side. So that's the most important part. Now, within the school system where we all get indoctrinated, I was told that we came from West Africa and they came over during the slave trade, and our ancestors were like all squished up like sardines in these boats. That's what I learned in school. Now, outside of school, I was told so many other things. We're the real Israelites slash Hebrew, the real Moors, the Egyptians, all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, how can we be all of these things? And this is why people from the outside looking in, they don't really take us so seriously because it's like we're saying all these things. And as I'm getting older and realizing more and more, we're not, the Black community, we all don't have the same story. And that's really important to vocalize because people look at us like we all come from the same tribe and so on and so forth. But that's not the case. Now, what made me decide to open up more to this is because years ago my dad had went to get his blood taken. He went for a regular checkup and his doctor got all excited because she found that he has Egyptian in his blood. And he was like, how? Now, mind you, my dad grew up like a regular Black American, even though his father told him that they're Native American. My dad just grew up regular Black American. Was never told Egyptian a day in his life until he went to go get a regular checkup and his doctor found that he's Egyptian because he's immune to like malaria and something about Egyptians being immune to malaria. So when he came back and told us this, I was just like, okay. As far as malaria goes, because I did do some research after this and I didn't really come across much about Egyptians being immune to malaria. However, I did came across a documentary on Netflix where Egyptians, they came across this tomb where this ancient family was buried along with a lion cub, which is really rare to find a lion that was mummified. And they ran some tests on this ancient family and they think that they found a discovery of how they all passed away, and it's most likely probably linked to malaria. And if that's the case, this is going to be the oldest recording of malaria. And I don't know, so I'm like, okay, let me just keep that in the back of my mind for later. Other than that, I just couldn't find anything to that. And I question his doctor just a little bit, but who am I compared to a doctor? I don't know. But I also did a DNA test and it does show Egyptian in my bloodline. When it comes to DNA tests, I do take it all with a grain of salt, but it is a great tool to use. I used Ancestry, MyHeritage, GenMatch, and I keep pronouncing it Genome Link, but Genome Link, I think that's how you pronounce it. But I did my DNA with all of these sites, and it does show up just a little bit, which I assumed because I was like, who was Egyptian in our family? And if so, this has to go way back. Now, with MyHeritage, it shows like 1.1%, and their percentages change all the time. And I take MyHeritage with a grain of salt because it's just their percentages be up and down crazy. They even took my Italian away and gave me like 13% Portuguese. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. So I do take DNA testing with a grain of salt, but like I said, it is a great tool to use. GEDmatch. Now, GEDmatch is really popular in the indigenous community. However, I feel like if you're a brainiac, that's the site for you, because the way it's set up, for me, is like it's kind of difficult to decipher. Um, but it does show like Egyptian on GEDmatch and like Middle Eastern and whatnot. But like I said, if you are a brainiac, GEDmatch is for you, and it is really popular in the indigenous community. But I don't use it too often. I use Genome Link because I'm a visual learner, and the way their site is set up is easy for me to like look at things, and the way they break it down is easier for me to like get the concept. And with Genome Link, I did their global ancestry, their deep ancestry, where they go more deeper into the regions that they believe that you are from. And I did even their ancient ancestry. So with the global ancestry, it shows that I'm like the freaking whole globe basically. It shows Africa, uh, European, Middle Eastern, even like India and Asia, and it shows my North and South American. With the deep ancestry, though, like I said, they go a little bit more deeper on this, and it is something new that they're doing. So the more people that do their DNA through Genome Link, the more theirs is gonna like keep updating. And with the deep ancestry, it shows that I am like 1.4% Egyptian, and it also show like Moroccan and like Persian. But yeah, so it shows even on there. And their ancient DNA. Now, this one is a little bit more tricky for me to break down, and I'm no professional. But as far as I'm learning, they take bones that have been dug up from certain sites around the world, and they test these bones and these mummies, and they can match your DNA to certain ancient people that they have dug up. So one of the ancient mummies that was dug up in Egypt, I have a match with. I'm like 0.18% of a match compared to I think 60% of genomic users. So yeah, it's pretty difficult for me to like, I don't know how to break it down in simple forms, but yeah, hopefully you get what I'm saying. Now, once again, where does that Egyptian come from? Because I went from somebody that was kind of laughing at that idea to now I'm like, okay, there has to be some truth to everything that people be saying. And I don't think we're all, like, I don't think everybody in the Black community is Egyptian. And I don't think everybody in the Black community is like Israelite or Moors or whatever, that, you know, there's a little bit of truth to every single thing. And for my dad, um, his dad's side goes back to North Carolina, and I'm also in the Tuscarora tribe through my dad. But turns out my mom has ancestry with the Tuscarora also, so there's that. His dad has always said that they are Native American, and they've been living in the swamps for so freaking long. I don't know how far back I have to trace this side. I'm pretty much done with tracing that side because it's just okay. They've been in the swamps for like a long, long time, of like Bladen County and Whiteville, Columbus County. His mother's side, we don't know too much about that side because her family disowned her for dating my grandfather. They didn't really like him, so they disowned her. But she always said that her family has been in New Jersey for like a very long time. And I was able to trace her family back to New Jersey and Virginia. And her mother's last name is Moore. So I was like, okay, maybe that has something to do with it. But it really doesn't. So once again, I'm like, okay, I'm a little stuck here because that side of the family, they owned farms for like a very long time. And that's all I know. Um, However, I did more research, and now when it comes to this group is freaking crazy. So I would not even want to associate with this group. But there is some history of Moors coming out here. Like I said, coming out here, because some of them think that the Moors are indigenous, but no, the Moors come from over like the Middle East, North Africa, Spain, all of that. That's where they originated from. They are foreigners that came out here. And there is some history of that. So I'm like, maybe that has to do with Egyptians showing up, and not just my family, but other indigenous people in the community, because I'm not the only one. But it's like you don't really hear too many people speaking on it because of the fact I'm gonna say the quiet thing out loud. Nobody wants to associate themselves with the Moorish community, because the Moorish community sometimes they crazy. Like, you see them on the news from time to time. Like, they would just go into people's houses and be like, this is my house now. Like, they do things like that, and it's like, okay, you don't want to be associated with that. But it is, in a way, a part of our history, and it should be looked at more. But due to that group, it's kind of like nobody really talks about it that much. But yeah, I wanted to come on here and talk about this because I do find it very fascinating. Now, I'm not going to be walking around calling myself Egyptian. Like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. But the fact that it is in my ancestry, it does open a lot of questions of, okay, what's our real history? Because we was all taught this one thing, but there's more to the story. It wasn't just this one side of the story of African slavery. There was other things that was happening during this time. And it is very misleading when you just tell one side of the story. And this is why we get so confused when we hear so many other things. And yeah, it's confusing and it's annoying, and I hate being lied to. Anybody else who is Black American but had taken a DNA test and it shows like Egyptian, Middle Eastern, if that showed up in your DNA test, I'm curious to know. So if anybody wants to put that in the comment sections, then feel free to, because I find this really, really interesting. And let me find out that, like I said, there was more to the story and they're trying to hide all of this information. For what reason, I do not know. But everything that happens in the dark always comes to the light. So, yeah.